Greetings, brothers and sisters. So this is Friday, January 3rd. So yesterday I got some kind of disturbing news, which I can't talk about the specifics about it. It was kind of a shock to my system, things that I've been through before, nothing health related or anything like that, but just, drama related, freaking unnecessary drama or necessary drama. I've talked about this stuff more significantly in the Journey series, so this will be a part of the Journey series as well. But I just want to say, people can pray. That'd be great for me, whatever. But, I digested this thing a lot quicker and moved to a place of you have to work to be grateful for things that suck. And there was a Whispers of the Brighter World that I read this morning that goes along with that. So I want to share it. It's a good message for 2025. And so let me go ahead and read that here. So I hadn't, this is from about 8 days ago. Sometimes I just don't keep up with these. These Whispers messages get emailed out every day. And I open them up and I put them on a tab and, I just don't have time to read them or just forget to read them. And then I have to read a bunch at once, which isn't desirable. And, ever since they've been manipulating, they were putting them out in order, like from the beginning, which I was kind of excited about, but now they're jumping around and, with anything dodgy, it's dodgy. Instead of putting them out in order, which I was looking for, they've never done that. All the messages from the beginning to the end, there's always been some sort of theme or something. But anyways, Saturday, October 2001, 8 a.m. A new day is dawning for you. Your life will take a different direction. A new page of your life is before you, on which one day the word end will be written. Each page of the book of life is important. Added together, they form a whole, summarizing each of your own stories. The story is seldom as human beings would like it to be. They would like to make choices. They would like to make choices and select what suits them. What would be at stake in such a process? It is in the face of difficulties that humans are revealed to themselves. They are pawns on a large chessboard constituted by karmic fabric that regulates human life. No one can escape it. The stories are added one after the other, and they prepare eternity. It is a long process where time does not count. Other rules govern it, decreed by divine laws the humans cannot interpret. They often wonder and cannot understand the whys and wherefores. Their views are restricted to this life, which is only a link to in an immense chain connecting them to a significant universe. They who are as so small, infinitely small in this large swirl of energy that sweeps them away as if they were wisps of straw. May you all become aware of the extreme smallness in this boundless greatness of creation, Babaji. So just a wonderful message. Again, this was the one I read this morning. I wanted to catch up on these things. And I thought there might be one. Oftentimes in the readings of the Sajmark system, you'd go to group meditation, and the preceptor would choose a reading. And there's always 2 or 3 people that the reading, they felt like it was specifically for them, things that they were going through. And they just, the reading and the whatever was in the teaching, whatever the ideas were, applied to their situation. This completely applies to my situation right now. And so, I always find that fascinating. But, and it was great to hear it, but like there's a system now that I use. When you get something that's just undesirable and it's like a shock to your system, something where you get nauseous, you lose your appetite, or you're just, you're dumbfounded, especially something bad and it appears to be something completely unfair or whatever. There's when you get bad news, whatever it is, right? Things that happen to people, they lose their jobs, somebody dies, some kind of trauma, some kind of whatever. You've had a really bad day. And it's just a shock to your system. It's like comes out of the blue and it just affects you. Like, it's sets off like anger or panic or, negativity, hatred or, any number of bad emotions, and you're destabilized. And it happens to everybody when you get some kind of news like that. Like it's just, whatever it is. You go see a doctor and they say you have cancer. You go to, any number of things and this is not what happened here. It's just, whatever. Like I said, drama. And you react to it. But then the next day it isn't as bad. Maybe you think about it for a couple of days. Maybe you make it worse by dwelling on it. These things. But what I've learned with Sagemark's system is say this was inevitably going to happen. This is a part of my life's plan, and I just have to deal with it. Like it's just there. I have to accept it. And the sooner I accept it, like this is all right, this is just a part of it. If you go into the stages of grief with denial and bargaining and anger and these things, or, whatever it is, or if you go into this, victim consciousness, why me, poor me, God, why are you doing this, these things, and try to, figure some way out to feel like this is like, this is unjust or whatever it is, then it just delays the inevitable. Like this is meant to happen for whatever reason. Like, well, the reasons are, you're usually not going to be known. But what I've learned to experience is doing the Sagemark system, we call this a cleaning, is that when I dive into the practice and, I get more sittings and I do more, and I'm focused on more on my meditation and focus on, working towards gratitude and taking miseries as divine blessings, that all takes work because it's not, being grateful for something that sucks and you feel like is unfair or whatever is difficult. But whenever I, kick that in and start doing that, and then the whatever happens just passes through like everything does, like everything has a beginning and an end, I'm much better off spiritually. Like I take a major jump spiritually. And I went through a bunch of things like this to do with my divorce and my kids, trip to India, and then all the hardships and the crazy stuff that was going on, all the difficulties, and then the family breaking up, and the end of the dream of an intergenerational family farm, and just accepting failure, accepting disappointment, all of it as being for the best, and then being able to move on. And it just, if things got better, I got better. It was, things got cleaned out. I got closer to God, and it was just, the goal of the system. And so that's why these things are divine blessings. If they remove obstructions in you, sometimes when you get sick, sometimes when you go through some kind of, personal difficulties, I mean, all the time, there's something that gets cleaned off inside of you, like their spiritual grossness or whatever. This is the way the Sagemark system works, samskaras, these impressions that people take from life to life. And when these things get removed, the burden is, you've been carrying around is noticeable in its absence, right? So anyways, prayers are always helpful and welcome, and, specifically now. And, it just seems like my 2025 is getting off to a chaotic start and, whatever. But, like I said, there'll be benefit. And I just, I've been through enough of these things that I'm much better at just doing the work, like just realizing I've had success doing it in the past, and I've seen the benefit of such things, that I can, focus on the possible, the inevitable positive outcome and the spiritual benefit of things. And, which is a good thing. It's just, I mean, all things that suck, right? Things that suck are, I mean, if you didn't feel that they suck, there would be no cleaning benefit. There would be no, there has to be these issues to, pull out like whatever's being cleaned out or whatever has to be removed. There has to be some, negativity. They have to experience it, like to whatever degree. But you don't have to wallow in it, right? You don't have to exacerbate it. You don't have to turn it into something worse, by your own thoughts and your own victim consciousness and your own poor me and all this stuff. And anger and hatred and, negativity and fear and all the things. That's the opposite of the ignoring it as best as possible. You're looking at something that you just have to go through. And when you go through it, there's a beginning, a middle, and an end to everything. And when you're going through a difficult phase, a difficult whatever it is, there's a beginning of it, there's a middle of it, and then there's the end of it. And so, the less pushback the less negativity you bring to the situation, the sooner the thing will be able to be, end and be released and moved on. Having said that, there's going to be some time, I think, in the next couple of weeks I want to do some special meditations. This was something I've already was planning, so it's a time for me, like I think, to just focus spiritually, and it'll be good for me just because of the timing of it. But I was like planning this already. So I want to redo some of the meditations and sittings on the Gratefulness Meditation channel. For those of you guys who are doing it, I want to redo the introductory sittings, and I want to do some special things. Like I think I'm going to do those first that will enhance people's spiritual experiences. Some special like technique sitting things. So there's I think two of those. So those will be probably coming up maybe this weekend or next week on the Gratefulness Meditation channel. Again, today's Friday, January 3rd. By the time this video comes out as a Journey series video, it'll be, those things will probably be up or being close to being put up there. All right, so let's move on to the other stuff here. Okay, so I was reading through the other whispers, so I want to do this one first. I posted these things about the predictions, and for those of you who don't believe in what I do, or whatever, like this isn't your thing, you don't know much about it. I'm not trying to convert people. Like this is not, this is, it's like a Christian reading you the Bible, and you look at it, whether if you're not Christian or whatever, and you look at it like it was whatever it is, right? You might take something from it, you might not. But these are predictions. So I did these predictions the other day, these prophecies, and this one showed up. Just there's this a whisper a day where one of these messages comes in, and there aren't that many that have to do with professorial type of things, but there are a lot of talk about electromagnetic poisoning and money power and some of these other things, right? But this one's significant, and it goes with what I read the other day, and I'm going to do a part 2, and I'll hopefully remember to include this one. If I do it in a timely fashion, I will. But I'm going to read it here either way. They're either true or they're not. They are whatever they are. I'll include this in the Journey series. But if they're true, then there's things people should know about. So here it is. This is Sunday, November 29th, 1998, 10:20 a.m. The hypothesis formulated by these authors, of some kind of book that the medium, the person taking out these messages was reading. The hypothesis formulated by these authors is right. They were cosmonauts and not gods, who came in ancient times and manifested themselves to Abraham and then to Moses to help earthlings and make them advance. But progress happens slowly on Earth. Some extraterrestrial civilizations are developed to a point such as you cannot even imagine. 20,000 years ago and more, humans who saw such highly evolved beings could only think of them as gods. In the coming century, they will return in great numbers to calm down the fury of human beings who are capable of blowing up the planet with means that they control so badly. It will be necessary to calm things down and admit that a superior people will have to take the lead to restore, over time, peace on Earth. Then harmony will prevail among humans and foster their spiritual evolution. They will finally understand that religions were lures they accepted for want of anything better, as their evolution did not allow them to distinguish truth from falsehood. Everything in its own time. Great upheavals are necessary to make things move forward. There will be many tragedies. One will have to be strong to survive, but God will enlighten people of goodwill. The golden age will not come overnight. It is the law of evolution that deals rigorously on Earth as elsewhere. Don't worry, pursue your path as well as possible in purity of heart. Such is the true wealth. What must be will be. Pray, unite yourselves in love and brotherhood. Meditate on this well, Babaji. And so my understanding of the framework here, and it's got some specifics in it, but not so much in terms of a time period, that there is going to be some sort of a nuclear war type situation. And sometime after that, there's going to be extraterrestrials coming back to Earth, the ones that were documented here by so many cultures, and they're going to, be whatever, rejected or demonized by the powers that be, and then there's going to have to be however that works out, right? But to take control of the wayward human population. And so I'm not sure what the time frame, but he said it, during the century. And so, you know, so that's going to be what it is in the coming century. So that would be, it was in 1998, so it would be in the 2000s. And so sometime before now and the end of this century, there'll be extraterrestrial contact in a way that would be, undeniable, and human beings will deal with it whatever way they deal with it. All right, so there's that. And there's going to be some, civilization left. I mean, there's going to be something to build on. And so it's not a complete destruction. And so this is the predictions. You can believe it or not, prophecies. It's interesting if it, at least in terms of a fictional narrative, if you don't believe that it's actually going to happen. But the way things are lining up, it gives some level of, I don't know, ray of hope, because if it's just us having nuclear war and fucking up the planet without some higher source coming in and bringing peace and, bringing some stability to the chaos, then, there would be no hope, that would be bad. So at least this is positive in that way. Anyways, let's move on to the other stuff. Okay, so let's get going here. This is Dandy Don Lemons, who this is a video called "Hot Takes." Don Lemons responds to haters. Haters he responds to.
Okay, so make sure, guys, hit record, call your reporter or whatever, and tell them to watch. If you want to put this on your Fox News or on your Hill or on your Newsmax or on your Daily Mails or Post, go for it. I don't give a you-know-what. Okay?
You don't give a you-know-what. Don, don't give it a you-know-what if you want to put it on your different things.
I don't give a you-know-what, because the hypocrisy is astounding.
Wait a minute. Astounding? What are you talking about? It's supposed to be off the charts.
It relates to especially the MAGA folks right now and the right-wing media.
Wait a minute. The hypocrisy is astounding? What are you talking about, Don?
Astounding.
Astounding? Come on, Don, astounding. It's off the charts, Don.
The hypocrisy is off the charts, and it is sickening.
It's off the charts and it's sickening, Don. That's what hypocrisy is. You had a good thing going and you just don't freelance, Don, right? Don't improvise. You had a line, deliver the line.
As it relates to especially the MAGA folks right now and the right-wing media. It is astounding, the hypocrisy.
It's just astounding. The hypocrisy is astounding from right-wing media, MAGA folks.
Now, let me just say this. I said something in reference to, I was responding to the MAGA folks who were being racist in regards to the gentleman that Donald Trump nominated to be the head of AI. They were on the internet, look it up yourself, being very racist.
Look it up. Look it up. There's MAGA folks that were racist towards the AI guy.
Very vitriolic about Donald Trump appointing this person. And Vivek Ramaswamy got involved, and then he insulted, according to them, the MAGA people. Okay? So, as always, everybody gets all butthurt. I'm not referring to all of Trump supporters. I'm talking to the MAGA brain people who will say and do anything to make excuses for any behavior that Donald Trump does.
And what are they talking about Donald Trump? Where's the Trump part of this thing?
Bad behavior that the MAGA movement does. So
okay, but what you're saying here is the opposite of that. You're saying it's the MAGA movement, but before you said it was about Donald Trump. So you say is Donald Trump appointed a guy who was, I guess, a black guy. I'm not aware of Donald Trump's AI posts, whoever he posted in charge of the AI stuff. But it was Kamala Harris before him, remember? And so she was in charge of AI for a while, and she didn't really know what it was, remember? But because of that, some of the racist MAGA people went after the guy, and Vivek Ramaswamy, another Trump appointee, said something to those people, and they got offended. And so these people are slamming Trump for his appointment, and whatever small group of what you're calling MAGA people who are supposed to be just loving Trump no matter what he does. You found this small group of these racist ones or whatever, and the hypocrisy is off the charts. Apparently, I mean, it's astounding.
Yes, I stand by my words.
He does. He does. His words are next to him, and he's standing by them.
And if you don't like what I said, then too effing bad.
Too bad if you don't like what I said.
Care. And let me point the hypocrisy out to you, because you guys always say.
So how many MAGA people watch your show, Don? I mean, he's trying to troll. Like, he's realized he can't generate an audience on his own, right? You know, the MAGA people are the MAGA people. I talk about them here. We all, there's the really, the obnoxious QB MAGA right-wing crazy Trumpers that are, just a cancer on the internet, right? Amongst other groups. I mean, there's lots of groups that are difficult on the internet. But Don realizes that he can't generate an audience of people who are into him and CNN, like-minded people, because he can't articulate anything. He doesn't have any grasp of anything. He doesn't say anything interesting. But what he is good at is being mocked. Like, he calls these people haters, but they're really mockers, right? We mock Don Lemon because he's a bozo, not because he's, saying things that are, whatever, triggering to people, maybe to some of them. But he has a lot of people that comment on his channel that are not fans of his. And, you could call them haters or mockers, whatever, various categories there are. But it's because he's such a tool, right? And he realizes there's some kind of audience there for him. I mean, people still are going to get ads, and they're still going to, count as views, right? And this one got 90,000 views. So when he goes and speaks to the MAGA people, he's going to get more views. If he speaks to his audience, he's going to get 4,000. But if he talks about something the MAGA people are going to mock him for, he gets 90,000. So he's got a hater channel.
We are not electing. We are not voting for what? A pastor-in-chief. Sometimes I have an issue with some of the things that he says. It's true. I don't like how he says it, but it's true. So you have to have the same standards for other people that you have for your guy. Some of you, the cult leader. Okay? You guys.
Okay, so you're saying that if people are in a cult and they have a cult leader, they should have the same standard for all other people? Well, that's not being in a cult anymore. If they're in a cult, Don, they're going to have a lower standard for the cult leader and a higher standard for people who, in fact, no standard at all for people who are outside of the cult, right? That's how a cult works.
Have a higher. This is how messed up you are.
You know how messed up you are? He's got to hit himself in the head.
You have a higher expectation of me, an independent journalist, a former.
Here, there he goes.
Some of you, the cult leader. Okay, you guys have a higher. This is how messed up you are.
Tap that head, Don.
Have a higher expectation of me, an independent journalist, a former cable news host, than you do for the person who sits in the Oval Office. Because his mouth is worse than mine.
His mouth is worse than mine. Look at my mouth. Look at my teeth. I don't have a cavity. Look at his. I don't think he has dentures. Like, his mouth is worse than mine. You guys have a higher standard for Donald Trump than you have for me. No. They have a higher standard for liberals and left people, and they hate them, right? And so no matter what you say, it's the same thing with you and right-wing people and the liberals. You guys have a complete higher standard for Donald Trump than you did for Joe Biden. Let's be serious here, or any of your people, any of the people that are on your side. And so, that's how it works, Don. The hypocrisy isn't off the charts. It's just what people do. They hate one group of people, and they dismiss the same behaviors from their group of people. When Donald Trump does something, they dismiss his behaviors because he's Donald Trump. But when you do something, they call you on it. The same way you guys did that for Trump and all these other people that are right-wing people, and you didn't do it for Biden, right? Like the way you guys were saying that Trump was senile when you had a guy who was he had Parkinson's and he was shitting in his diaper and his Depends and whatnot. That's that's what you guys were doing, and you're not calling yourself on that.
He calls everybody dumb. He calls black women dumb. He's called me dumb. He calls
Wait, did he call you dumb? I mean, where would he get that? Like, where would he come up with that one?
people stupid. He's called Kamala Harris stupid. He's called her names.
Names like stupid?
Used profanity against athletes. He called them sons of bees. He called
No, sons of bees? But what about, were they stupid too, or just sons of bees?
people out of their names all the time.
God, you can say bitches. You're on fucking YouTube. You don't have to say sons of bees. You can say bitches.
Love it. But when someone says the truth about you, you get all butthurt and you get all in your feelings.
He's stealing what I say, but in a totally lame way because he sucks at talking about it because he doesn't really get it. And he doesn't do it himself, right? I've said this time before. This is what I say. That if you're against a behavior, you're against it in all forms. And my example has always been when I was mocking Britney Spears, they were telling me how mean I was, that she was an abused person. And I said, well, you weren't mad at me when I was doing the same behavior towards, I don't know, Lady Gaga or Cardi B or any of these other celebrities who were sexually abused or abused. And they're left-wing people. And I said, if you're against the behavior, then complain about the behavior. But otherwise say it's because you like Britney Spears and you don't like Cardi B. And so you're not against the behavior, so don't complain about it. If you enjoy me mocking other people, but then when I mock the person that you like or you identify with or whatever it is, right? And so that's what I would say to Don Lemons and all these other people. If you're going to exhibit a behavior, then do it for everybody. If you're saying Trump is losing it and he's senile, you can't ignore what's happening with Joe Biden. I mean, this is the problem we have with the media. But he's all riled up because he thinks you guys are holding his feet to the fire when your guy Trump is so much worse than him. Right? Like that's like his point of view here. Like it's lame, and he's sitting on a powder keg of hypocrisy because the way that he and so many other people dismissed Joe Biden and all of his issues and pretending he was a great fucking leader.
So what's good for the goose is good for the gander.
No way, is it?
What's good for the Donald is good for the Don.
He's the Don.
So my new energy going into 2025 is this.
Boom. What is it?
When Donald Trump tones down his rhetoric, he stops calling people names, he stops being racist, he stops using profanity, then I will. Now, I used to
why does he got to do it first?
I was in legacy media. I would always say, if something didn't just tumble out of my mouth, because I sometimes forgot that I was on television.
Because I do shit like that. Sometimes I forget I'm in the elevator and I just start urinating on the wall. I mean, I think I might have a little senility problem as well.
I always say my thing would be, what would Oprah do, right? Because Oprah was a mentor.
What would Oprah do? WWOD?
Right. What would Bryant do? What would Bryant Gumbel do? He's a
Bryant Gumbel would be a kind of obnoxious
mentor. What would those mentors do? Because that was a different time, traditional media. And what would Michelle Obama do, right? Because Michelle Obama said, when they go low, we go high.
And she really meant that too. Like that was not just a bumper sticker, but she was really meaning that.
I love you, Michelle Obama. We can't do that in this environment. And I saw
no way. You got to go low, Don. I think you like it on the down low, Don. That's another Oprah show.
At the Democratic convention this year, when you and your husband, the former president, went off. I loved that energy.
When you went off, it was crazy. It was funny when he kept on referencing Donald Trump's penis. Remember when Barack Obama held his hand up, referencing his penis and saying that it was something to do with crowd size because they're obsessed with Donald Trump's penis. You know that thing, Don? Remember that? That was crazy funny.
So sometimes for the folks who are in traditional media and you certain way and you operate on light and joy and not offending people. Oprah, I love you, but sometimes Gail, love you guys. Sometimes you need a proxy.
A proxy. He is that proxy. This is the guy that's going to bring the hammer down. He's now unleashed on. He's from CNN. He's on YouTube, and he's just bringing the hammer down with his cutting edge insights to how the MAGA people are. The hypocrisy is not only off the charts, but it is, what was the word he used? Whatever. I forgot it.
I am your proxy. I am your
Astounding.
your anger translator.
He's the anger translator.
Like Barack Obama's anger translator.
He shows you how angry Barack Obama is, and he's going to speak for him. He's the manifestation of Barack Obama's anger on YouTube.
Okay, we'll get to that in just a moment. But let's talk about what happened. So you can put the video up. So I did this video, and it was like someone said, "Oh, he's doing the show out of his living room, out of his house." I'm doing it out of my house because it's the holidays. I have a studio, so don't even.
Yeah, but you shouldn't have one because your show gets no views. I do it out of your house because, I mean, the type of views you're getting and that amount of money you're hemorrhaging and whatever producer, whatever staff you have to pay, it's way too much for the amount of views you're getting. So do it out of your house, but just don't turn your TV on with you on it.
Whatever to that. But let me just show you the hypocrisy in all of this. You got upset because you thought I was talking to all MAGA folks. I'm not talking to all MAGA folks. I'm not calling all Donald Trump supporters racist. I'm not.
You call them the MAGA people. See, when you say MAGA, that means all the people who are Make America Great Again. When you say like that, you have to say something like I do, like I say all the time. I'm not talking about all Christians. I'm not talking about all Cubies. I'm not talking about all flat earthers. Because there's plenty of them that are, polite, reasonable people that watch my videos and don't, pull their bullshit that I say about the other people, right? Like I make a distinction because you have to do that. When you say MAGA people, you're saying all MAGA people.
I'm not calling all Donald Trump supporters stupid. I have Donald Trump
Just
supporters.
how many of them? What percentage are stupid?
In my own family. And you know what they said to me? Thank you for saying what you said, because he betrayed a campaign promise. He told us that he was going to cut down on immigration. And
So they're not real MAGA people.
Wasn't just going to be certain people. And the reason I talked about it was because, as I said, the racist MAGA people online being racist against Indian Americans.
Oh, so the guy's Indian that does the AI is what he's saying.
Donald Trump and the MAGA people have now figured out that they need immigrants in order for this economy to survive, in order for our country to survive. In order for our country to survive. Farmers have said that. Farmers said that to my friend over at CNN when she interviewed him. He said, we need migrants. We need immigrants. Otherwise, we would be in business for about 2 days and we wouldn't be able to keep our farms up. This is
no way. It's just crazy, Don. I mean, where do you get all this knowledge from?
a dairy farmer who said that. And so now all of a sudden, folks are realizing that they need immigrants. And now the tech bros are telling you, we need immigrants. We need these H-1B visa folks.
Okay, but that Donald Trump was never against those because he knew it. And Elon knew it. And Ramaswamy knew it. And all these corporations knew it. And, there's a value for people who have skills. I mean, people always want skill people. People poach skill people from other countries. If somebody has a skill and they have something at a high level of education, they're brilliant. Of course, those people are always going to be in demand, right? They're always going to poach people like that from each other's companies and from other countries. It's not the skilled people that they're talking about, and the people who are going to do the hard work of gardening or doing harvesting and things in farms. Whatever they call that group of immigrants, right? The people who do the picking of vegetables and fruits and things and work in the agricultural industry. Yeah, those people are needed too because Americans won't do that shit, right? And so there are jobs that are being filled by people, but what they're talking about is a lot of immigrants coming that there's no jobs for, or they're going to take jobs for people who are Americans. That's the concern. And so that's what we're talking about here, and that's what people are concerned about. And like everyone knows that there's immigrants that are valued, that, they pay them less than, minimum wage to pick. I picked tobacco for $2.47 an hour when I was a kid in my suburb, right? There were some tobacco plants, and it was brutal. Like, and there was people there from Pennsylvania who picked 4 times as much as us, like spoiled suburbanites, right? And there was Puerto Rican people in the barn who would climb up on these lats, these very thin 2x4s. They were like 1x4s or something. I don't even remember how thin they were. And they would shake, and they would hand up these lats of tobacco leaves for drying. And I'm like, oh my God, how is not somebody dying? I went into the barn. I'm like, I was worried for these people. These guys were standing up there 6 stories up on these boards, and the boards are like shaking. These guys are small, 110 pounds, and people are handing these things up. And they would go to the top down, and they would hang up these tobacco leaves that they were drying for cigars, right? And so I understand, like, the level of migrant labor that's used for these kind of things, because they're not willing to pay Americans. I mean, I don't know how much they would have to pay an American to go stand up, an American citizen to go stand up on these boards, if they're still doing that shit. Like, I hope they have machines by now, right? But these things were just, I mean, like risking your life for like $3 an hour. It was that kind of stuff. And so that's what we're talking about, Don. We all know about these things. Like, you're making it sound like you're cracking the code here.
Order to get our business done. So now all of a sudden they're like immigrants, and then the racist faction of the MAGA movement lost their minds. Not all Trump supporters. Many of them were upset because they betrayed, but they weren't racist about it.
He's not betrayed. This was, I covered this with my last video with Steve Bannon and these other guys. And, this is silly. You can't get rid of positions that won't be filled by Americans. I mean, there's jobs that Americans won't do. Americans won't do math, right, in schools, and they don't aspire to have these types of skills and things. That's why there's jobs. And plus the way that they treat these people, working 100 hours on call all the time because they have these visas that they can't lose, or they're shipped back to their country they don't want to go back to, right? And so, I mean, the whole thing, like, it's just silly, Don. Like, of course there's going to be some people who speak up. They might even be trolls or disinformation agents that are trying to undermine Trump and the Trumpers. Like, it's just, what are you talking about? Like, it's not, you're making it sound like you've discovered something, like you've made some breakthrough.
They weren't saying toxic shit online.
You said bees, and you said before, son of bees. But you're saying stuff like shit. Come on, Don. I mean, that anger. Control your anger, bro.
And so for everyone, like all of the people there's some idiot over at the Hill. So this little, well, Don Lemon went on a racist rant. I don't know, some little dude with glasses. What's his name? Bobby or something.
Are you prejudiced against little people? They're called like little people. You don't like little people, Don?
And then there's the other one, who always goes off, the Dore guy, whatever his name is. Someone he's upset because we canceled him on the show. Well, thank goodness we did. I had no idea we were even booking him.
Exactly. I wasn't going to book him. I found out about him and his ways.
Jimmy Dore, or whatever his name is.
Jimmy Dore? Dore.
So let me just show you the hypocrisy, because you're upset because I said a few words that you, oh my God.
You had Jimmy Dore on your show. I think he gets a lot more views than you.
I can't believe Don Lemon said a curse word. But you don't have the same energy when Donald Trump says it. Here's Donald Trump. Please play the one where Donald Trump is using all of the profanity but this is just a little bit of what he does. But just let's play some of it. You don't get upset with this. Watch.
You don't get upset with this.
Don't care who the hell they are. I fired his ass so fast. It's bullshit, okay? It's bullshit. This is the worst damn stage I've ever seen. You bring your whole damn family, whoever the hell you are, I love you. They make the crap right there. Get that son of a off the field right now.
Son of a bee.
He said he's a We'll beat the out of them. Let them beat the out of ISIS also. He gets the nomination, they're going to sue his ass off. Whoever the hell brought this mic system, don't the son of a to put it in. You shouldn't pay the best, sir. I would bomb the out of him. You bet your ass I'd approve it. You bet your ass. I don't give a damn. You can tell them to go themselves. It's
no way. Look at Don. Look at him go. What's the hypocrisy, Don? It's astounding.
Political
Bullshit,
Our country's
Don.
going to hell.
Don.
Going to hell.
I mean, I can't believe the hypocrisy, Don.
Oh, I can't believe Donald Trump said some bad words. Is Donald Trump?
I can't believe Donald Trump said some bad words. That was great, Don. Wonderful. You're delivering now, Don. You got your audience. Go for it. Like get mockers. Get these people who are going to mock you. I mean, it's wonderful. You're providing us content. You're getting promoted. It's just it'll keep you afloat, Don. You don't have any future with people who are like-minded because they look at you as some kind of dope. I mean, remember when you were accused of being anti-woman and you said those things on your show and CNN, they fired you?
Trump? In a cringy rant? Did Donald Trump lose his mind when he said those words? Was he being offensive when he said this about the vice president? Here it is.
So you have to tell Kamala Harris that you've had enough, that you just can't take it anymore. We can't stand you. You're a vice president.
No way, Don. Don, the hypocrisy.
The worst.
Astounding, Don.
You're the worst vice president. Kamala, you're fired. Get the hell out of here. You're fired.
You're fired, Kamala.
Get out of here.
Get the hell out of here.
Oh.
Well. Woo.
There you go. Were you offended by that? Did you run to the internet? Was Fox News or OAN or Newsmax or The Hill or whoever else, the Daily Mail, the Post, were you doing stories about how unhinged?
Can you show the clip of the people playing your clip and saying what you're unhinged? Because I don't think they probably reacted like that, Don. I think they just mock you and laugh at you because you're a tool. I don't know because I don't watch those shows. I don't know. I don't care. I know how I view you, right? Like you're good. I mean, your clips are the best. Like they're just so much to pull from. I mean, you're worse than Chris Cuomo's, and that's like. I mean, you guys together were. I used to have these things called douche-offs, right? You're so clueless. The inability to self-perceive and what you think is like brilliant is not. You think you're like cutting down, so you're like, you're cutting to the core of something, and you're not. Like it's just goofy stuff. Like it's not even just superficial. It's not true. Like you're horrible at this job. You were horrible at CNN, but now you're in a different standard because you're on the internet where people are much better. Like you could be bad on CNN because everyone sucks there. You can be bad on Fox. You can be bad on MSNBC because this is what's expected of you. It's expected that you're just going to be a mainstream moron. But you're against real people, sincere people, authentic people. People who are much smarter than you and are able to talk about things you're not able to talk about in CNN. And you can't compete with that because you don't even know what the fuck's going on. You're so locked into it. Like you didn't even understand why Elon Musk decided to cancel your contract, the contract you never signed, that you want $8 million a year and one of his goofy cyber trucks. And he was like, my God, you're just going to bring CNN to here. You're not getting the fact that you're on the internet. You're competing against, real sincere people, real authentic people that are much, smarter and more brilliant and can talk about a wide variety of subjects that you should have access to. But apparently you were like locked in a closet at CNN and you didn't understand what's going on in the world beyond the very narrow bandwidth that you were allowed to talk about it. Like you don't have a curious mind. And so like you're competing against a much higher level of content, right? But you can do this and get mocked because you're famous. So it's like you still represent CNN. Like you're still embarrassing CNN out here. And this is a good move for you. Like just come out, act like a clown, say stupid shit, believe the shit out of it, think that you're rocking it, and then attack people on the internet who are doing a much better job with their shows. And you're providing them content. It's a good thing, Don. And then you'll get your thing out there. They'll promote you. People will come on to laugh at you and watch your show. And you'll make more money. Your thing will keep afloat. It's just like this. It's like this symbiotic type of cycle of life thing. You remember The Lion King, Don?
Donald Trump was to be saying stuff like that about the vice president? Were you saying he was unhinged when he called NBA players sons of bitches? Where were you?
You know who was saying he was unhinged? Morning Joe, and then CNN and all you other reporters of these fucking shitty shows. This is the thing. They call him unhinged. You know how many times I heard Donald Trump's crazy or unhinged? He's going on a rant. I mean, we hear it all the time, right? And so that's their job. The MAGA people, it's their job to find people on the left, the liberals, and talk about how they're ranting. Like you're taking people at their worst who are enemies of yours. And that's how the binary system works, Don. There's plenty of people out there, including all of mainstream media and your old stomping ground, CNN, and especially MSNBC, that are calling Donald Trump unhinged. You know how many times I've heard that? It's a daily basis. Trump's unhinged again. Trump's crazy again. This is how they say it. And his people and his supporters, or Marjorie Taylor Greene, she's going on a rant, or whatever it is. That's what that you guys do. It's silly, Don. Like, what are you talking about? You don't think there's balance in the media? You know?
Did you get all bent out of shape? Did you rush to the internet? Did you send angry, racist, homophobic emails?
Did you get racist, homophobic emails, Don? Because some tells me you did.
His family members, like for my family members?
But your family members got them?
Did you do that? Or did you just sit by and go, yeah, that's great. He's owning the libs. Now remember, all of you have said, I wish he wouldn't say those things, but I wish he wouldn't say it the way he says it, but it's true. I like that he says it. I wish he would just,
Is that a MAGA reporter impression? Is that a MAGA person impression?
maybe do it a little bit differently. But he's right. And remember, you aren't voting for a pastor in chief. You aren't watching me or voting for me or counting on me to be what? A pastor in chief.
Like he says these things like, man, I'm nailing it. Nailed it.
You're counting on me to be a truth teller.
Oh, my God. No one's counting on you for that, Todd. I mean, the people who watch you are not looking for truth. You know, like the people who look at you like, oh, my God, this guy's got some things going on. He's like people are listening to your thoughts, right? You're in the game now of people listening to your thoughts. You're not there so much to report. You're here because you have interesting takes and understanding of things. This is the world you're competing in. It's all these people on the internet. It's what I do, all these other people you mentioned, their shows. It's our thoughts, our interpretation, our jokes, our, whatever our personalities can display here. That's the stuff that you're doing. And nobody who's listening to you thinking that you're brilliant is looking for truth, right? The remedial people watching a guy with a remedial mind who, got fired from CNN, I think you're like employing a little bit in terms of your cognitive abilities. I think your cognitive abilities are diminished. I think you were better before. But whatever's happened to you or not, you're not cutting edge. You're not making it here. But again, you have this nice niche going on where you can be like this guy who people mock and tune into your show to mock, and you do this thing where you attack them. It's great. It's good. It's like this wonderful sort of circle of life thing, like I said.
To show the anger or the frustration and to voice the anger or the frustration in this country. And sometimes you have to use salty language.
Who's salty, Don? Look he's got a comment. Beth Collier gifted Don Lemon $5. Gifted 5 Don Lemon memberships. Oh, she gave 5 Don Lemon memberships to people. It's just wonderful, Beth Collier. She's one of your biggest supporters, Don.
In order to do it. I don't like doing it. But sometimes you have to do it.
Tell him, Don, Catherine W.
Just remember,
She said, tell
Jerry Falwell Jr.
The hypocrisy is wild. No, it's off the charts, bro.
One of your spiritual leaders on the MAGA side. Remember
super sticker
when he said this about people who said that Donald Trump had a potty mouth and that he was all of these things? Remember when he said this?
High road closed for 2025. Violet Ray.
You have to look past. You can't be. We're not electing a pastor-in-chief. We're electing a commander-in-chief, and we can't expect our commander-in-chief to have the same qualities as our pastors. And I think most of the rank and file evangelicals have figured that out on their own.
Permission structure for evangelicals to vote for Donald Trump.
Okay, so why don't you, when you're talking about hypocrisy, Don, why don't you realize you just showed a clip where Anderson Cooper is bringing up Donald Trump talking with salty language? That your bro, Anderson Cooper, who still has a job over there, he's their big star, said to this guy, showed clips of Donald Trump saying, using salty language, as you called it. And so Donald Trump is getting criticized, just not by the people. Like, you didn't say anything when Joe Biden said all those different, like when he swore when he was vice president with Barack Obama. And I mean, it's the big thing was his senility. We all knew the guy had cognitive decline, and you guys didn't cover it till it was obvious, and people were rebelling against it, and you were told that they were going to get rid of him and put Kamala in. And then finally you talked about it. So, I mean, that's the hypocrisy there, Don. There is people who cover Donald Trump and his being unhinged. Like, it's there. Like, Don, bro. I mean, keep on going, Don. You're doing great.
Even with all of the stuff that he does or says that you make excuses for, you have a higher standard for me than you have for your commander-in-chief.
Boom. Look at how smug he is. Like, he just thinks he's got it.
What's your problem?
What's your problem, bro?
Really?
Really?
You're mad because I said somebody was dumb? Donald Trump has called me dumb a million times. Go look it up.
You know what else? Like, I want to see the meme for Joe Biden. Let's go do the Joe Biden meme here.
Get lost, dummy. You big cold-blooded dummy. You big dummy.
And I'll do dumb things again. So, ladies and gentlemen, I've been dumb.
Dummy, 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 dummy.
Go look up how often he calls black women dumb, or women in general dumb. Bird brain, Nikki Haley.
Bird brain, Nikki. He's really upset by this. Like, it's a big deal. You know, like I said earlier, like, I do this all the time. And what I talk about is you have to be aware of what you're criticizing. Are you criticizing a behavior? Like, are you okay with Donald Trump doing it, but not Don Lemon? That's what he's saying here. That this behavior, you criticize it in all forms. The problem with Don's position here is he's not looking how the liberal media covers the liberal people. Like, he justifies their demonization of Trump and Trump people, but how they let Joe Biden and all these other people get away with Hunter Biden and the rest of it, which is something I don't do, right? I call all this stuff out the way I see it. You know, I mean, there's bias for each person, but even in that, like, there's levels of it, right? We all have bias that we're maybe not aware of. We all have prejudices, whatever it is, right? But all these liberal people who, you know, all the Democrats, all the left-wing people, including Don Lemon and his whole network and all the people he associates with, ignored and lied to and gaslit the American people about a guy who clearly had dementia, right? We had a president who had dementia. He had it when he was running in 2019. He had it for 4 years as president, and he has it even more now. And he's still focused on this other stuff, right? You have to, if you're going to say hypocrisy, then you have to understand what the word means. Like, that's hypocrisy, Don. You're like a walking hypocrisy, and you're all upset because you called Trump a dummy, and a few people on the internet and some other people mocked you for it or said whatever they said, and you're all butthurt about it, and you think you got some sort of cutting edge, like, it's just like, look at his eye. Like,
How often does he do that? Do you get upset with him? Do you do all kinds of specials? Oh my God, Donald Trump was unhinged. It was a cringe moment. No, because you're hypocrites.
They're hypocrites. Tell them, Don. And it's off the charts, and it's disgusting.
You're hypocrites. That's why. Everybody uses language like that. You may not hear it. And I think that I don't think it's quite appropriate for the commander-in-chief to do it. But if you want to do it, that's your business. I don't really like doing it, but sometimes you have to get your point across.
You have to use the word dumb. I mean, some days you just have to use the word dumb, or you're never. People aren't going to get it. You know, they're just not, if you don't use the word dumb, it's not enough.
I will be your proxy, traditional media, because the folks are tired of legacy media mainstreaming and normalizing this BS.
They're tired of your bullshit. Like, you know, Fox is whatever Fox is. Like, Fox has been Fox for longer than you guys at CNN and MSNBC decided to copy Fox's model, just using it for liberals and Democrats bias. But before that, Fox was just whatever they were. They stayed basically the same. But in terms of people's upset with the media, all the major networks, they're leaning left. ABC, NBC, ABC, CBS, and NBC. And then, of course, MSNBC and CNN. So the major cable networks that aren't Fox and all the other networks are all leaning left. And then there's some of these smaller right-wing, and then there's all the people on the internet who maybe lean more right or are truthers or whatever it is. But the upset with the media is you at CNN and MSNBC even more so. And then the other networks. And they're upset with the New York Times. We don't trust it anymore. Don't believe in it. Your old guy told you. An African-American guy told you about it, right? When you were asking about, is Elon Musk the real vice president? When you were making shit up about him in that goofy thing I covered. And all your stuff is goofy. And some guy told you, we don't trust the media anymore. And you said, you know what? People say that to me all the time. They don't trust mainstream media, but they trust Don Lemons. And those people are dumb, Don.
Making false equivalency all the time by allowing MAGA supporters to come on the air and spread and spew all kinds of falsities and lies.
So where is that happening? Where do they allow MAGA supporters? Not on CNN, not on MSNBC. I mean, like, people aren't upset at that. They're upset about the fact that we had a president who was senile for 4 years. That's why they voted for Trump. And you guys covered it up. And then his son, and he was just pardoned. This crackhead criminal, right? Just all that stuff. That's what people are upset about. Yeah, sure, they don't like Trump either. And Trump represents, at least for them, somebody who isn't connected, at least in their minds, to the beast. Like he's somehow independent, even though he's dependent, even though he's a part of it. They think that he's some kind of an outsider. That's why they elect an outsider, Don, because they're tired of all of it, right? The right wing, the left wing, the Rhino Republicans, and the Don Lemons, and the Chris Cuomos, and the Anderson Coopers.
And to insult people, you invite them on. You pay them to be contributors.
Who are the MAGA people that are paid contributors? You mean on Fox? Like, that's what you're watching, Don? See, everybody watches what they hate. Everybody watches the stuff that pisses them off.
Because we need to hear from them.
I love when Don Lemon is lemon juicy. Deborah Yvette.
Well, you also need to hear from the people.
Donna Robinson, call a spade, Don.
Who are not going to give oxygen to liars, election deniers.
Election deniers, exactly. All these people. The hypocrisy is off the charts. The big lie, Don.
And people who think that insurrections are okay. It was a walk in the park.
Don, that's not where the outrage is coming from. Like, even Stephen A. Smith was talking about how the FBI was now wrecked that by 23 people showing up, and 20 of them were doing it on their own, and they weren't even sent there, and they infiltrated into the group and helped provoke them to do things. And all these things are going to be dismissed now because of it. I mean, even that's being covered by a sports guy.
So let me be your proxy for those of you who want to go high. I'm meeting you where you are.
Who? The MAGA people? You're meeting them at? Meet them, Don. Go low, Don.
Now remember, Barack Obama, who you all say, oh, Barack Obama is so, aloof and whatever. Barack Obama told Jerry Seinfeld this when it comes to using salty language. This is what he said.
It help with your stress level. Because I'm gonna say help. This son of a bitch, this rat bastard comes in here.
Getting the clips done, like he gets the idea of what the internet's about, but he's got a clip from comedians in cars getting coffee from 2015 to show that Barack Obama curses. And so, like, I don't even know where you're going with this. You're all over the Magas, and now you're going over the people that say Barack Obama doesn't curse. You're trying to prove he does, and you dug this up from Seinfeld. Like, you get the general idea how this works. You just suck at it really bad.
Really, if you blow off a little steam, right?
Yeah, bad stuff or stupid stuff is happening constantly, right? Every day. So you have to be able to just make fun of. Wow, that.
Yeah,
like,
of course.
That was even dumber and more annoying than usual. That's when.
He got this from Ari Meebler's The Beat. He was showing this thing on MSNBC.
Cursing is really valuable.
Sometimes cursing is really valuable. Thank you, Barack Obama.
Boom. You got it, Don. I'm going to have to cut some of that out because they're bad at copyrighting comedians in cars getting coffee. He thinks look how smug he is. He thinks he nailed it. He thinks he just delivered. What you've done is you've gotten a lot of views of people who don't like your show and don't like you and who are leaning to the right or MAGA people who want to mock you, which is good for you, Don. That's your wheelhouse.
And this is what I feel like when I say I'm going to be your proxy. I'm going to be America. 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 I'm going to be your anger translator. Much like this one.
You think America, you're their anger translator? You think the anger that's coming from America is about Donald Trump swearing and the hypocrisy of the MAGA people? Like, that's not the case, Don. He wouldn't have won presidency. If you're saying that the elections are real, that Donald Trump won in kind of a landslide, and it wasn't anger at Donald Trump that won the election. It was anger at Joe Biden and Kamala Harris and the left-leaning media. And it was not just in terms of Trump. It was all the people that got voted in. It was a clean sweep, right? I mean, in a way of, with all the media and all the money, she had twice as much money. She had establishment behind her, the whole Democratic Party and their ground game and stuff that Trump hasn't built up. She spent twice as much money, 3 times as much money that she did with the PACs and all that stuff. You think people are mad about this hypocrisy bullshit you're saying and Trump swearing and all those things? It's silly. And you think you're nailing it. Like you think like, oh my God, I'm doing it. I'm going to represent this. I'm the anger. I'm finding my niche. No, your niche is acting like a fool and having people mock you who don't agree with you. Like it's a clown. You got a clown thing going on here, Don.
The former president, Barack Obama, and my friend, Keith.
Because despite our differences, we count on the press to shed light on the most important issues of the day.
And we can count on Fox News to terrify old white people with some nonsense.
Look at him laugh. Look at him go. Look at how funny it is. So funny, Don.
Sharia law is coming to Cleveland. Run for the damn hills. Y'all's ridiculous.
So he saw this and he thinks he's going to be this. This guy's got brilliant sketches. This isn't funny, but he's got brilliant sketches. Some of the Key and Peele stuff is like amazing. Like it's just like, sublime. It's what Saturday Night Live should be, like Kyle Doonigan and some of these other, like, internet like people that do these kind of comedy sketches, right? Saturday Night Live sucking. It's like the vacuum from Saturday Night Live becoming shills for the Democratic Party. But Don Lemon remembered this, and he thinks he can do this for Barack Obama, who's like irrelevant, right? He's going to be Barack Obama in America's anger. Like that's how clueless this guy is.
We won't always see eye to eye.
Oh, and CNN, thank you so much for the wall-to-wall Ebola coverage. For 2 whole weeks, we were one step away from the Walking Dead. And then you all got up and just moved on to the next thing. That was awesome. Oh, and by the way, just if you haven't noticed, you don't have Ebola.
Sometimes you got to be angry.
Exactly. You nailed it, Todd. What an episode.
So look, I'm an emancipated person. I don't have to worry about it. So let me just say this.
From CNN, like he's emancipated. You're not, Don. You're doing your CNN show here. It's your same sucky things Maybe you're using a few words that you don't have to, and you don't have some people coming in from HR telling you to stop saying stupid shit, right? But the stupid shit you're saying isn't internet worthy. You're not on that level. You're still in the bandwidth of CNN. You haven't explored beyond the mainstream narratives. That guy told you, like this guy was walking the dog. I showed you in like 2 videos ago, or whatever it was, 3 videos ago, where the guy said that, we don't trust the mainstream media. They're not our authority anymore. And you're just a part of that thing. But you're like fired guy. You're not an organic guy who rose up and won an audience on his own. You have name recognition, and you had money and resources, and YouTube is loving your show, and they're promoting it, and it sucks, right? Like you suck. You suck just as bad, even worse than you were on CNN. You're not emancipated. You're still coming from the same. See, you wish you were on CNN. Like if they offered you a job, you'd go back in a second. If MSNBC or even some of these lower level networks did, if you get a real job at these places, because you're not built for this thing, right? Like you don't know how to do it. Like you think you do because you've watched other videos, but you do it with a CNN mindset.
For all of you hypocrites out there, okay? For all of you people who are upset about my salty language, for all of you people who are not understanding the context of what I was talking about, I'm talking about the racist people who are online talking, giving racist language and being bigoted about Indian Americans.
No way, Don. There's no way you're covering something that intense.
All Trump supporters, but the folks with the MAGA brains.
I mean, how are you not canceled? Why aren't the algorithms working against you when you're coming in with such hot takes and hot topics?
Do anything to make excuses for their bigotry and for whatever Donald Trump wants to do. So in the words of your dear leader, if you do not like what I said and you do not understand what I said, you can go yourself.
Boom. But say it, Don. You just say it. You're saying you're going to be the anger. Sometimes you got to get angry. Sometimes you got to use this language. You can say the F word. Say it, Don. You could have said it, bro. The name of this video, again, is Hot Takes Don Lemon Responds to the Haters. This is what he considers a hot take.
Okay? Thank you very much.
You're welcome, Don. It was wonderful. Keep it up, bro, because you're doing great. All right, so let's read through the comments here. These are the top comments, and you can tell they must have deleted all the negative comments, because I showed you another video where the 3 of the first 10 comments were negative, and that's with him, with them possibly deleting some of them. And he's putting this out there so that right-wing people and people in the truth community, he's addressing them personally. So a lot of people watched it because he got 90,000 views, right? This has 100,000 views. So it got another 10,000 views. And it isn't because of the people who agree with him. Because when he posts videos for those people, he gets 8,000 views, right? This is attacking Trump and inviting these other people in to watch him. And it's obviously picked up some steam because of that, right? When you start treating people like they treat you, it rubs them the wrong way. And so see if any of these replies are, whatever they are. This is, oh my God, how refreshing to hear this finally. You can speak for me anytime. Jab, jab, right, left. Give it to him. They think he rocked it. Like, these are people who are so low vibrational, so low consciousness. They think he rocked this thing. They think he delivered like a blow to the MAGA people without even thinking about their candidate, Joe Biden, being senile and them covering it up, right? And all the hypocrisy and their, obsession with Trump. The inability to self-perceive. Don, please keep bringing this side. I'm so tired of the hypocrisy not being called out. This is your calling. Tell me, Don. Tell him, Don. Don't ever change, brother. I will always respect you for calling it like it is. Please stop explaining yourself to these hypocrites. Say you said what you said. Call it out, Don. Keep bringing the love, and then all these things. So he has some low consciousness fans who listen to this guy as a truth teller and somebody who gets it, right? But where are all the negative comments that would inevitably be there? This is the sort of journalism needed to counter MAGA madness. This was fantastic. Thank you for bringing our proxy. I need you to be my voice. You know, when you hear Don Lemon talk, you should recognize like he's not smart. And if you don't recognize that, then you're dumb. Like, you know, this whole idea of dubs and all this stuff, dummies. And so wonderful. Like, I hope he keeps on doing this stuff. I hope it's brought to my attention because it's, you know, for me, it's great content. But there are people who think Don Lemons is, you know, a truth teller and he gets it and he has insight. And when he says things, they're like, oh my God, like you just cracked the code. Okay, so today's Saturday, June 4th. I'm going to put this video up tomorrow. I had a crisis, getting cold. We're going to have a big blizzard coming through here or some shit. And when I have this, you know, this pond, I think I showed a video of it, and we have fish in there, and I run there's a stream I've created in a waterfall, and it freezes when it gets really cold, and I have to add water to the pond to keep it going, and I want the water to flow, and it's the place the chickens like to drink out of the most, but it's obviously too cold to, you know, to keep a hose attached to. You know, we have these farm spigots outside that are, you know, the water is below ground, so it stays, you know, it doesn't freeze, which are great things to have on necessary things to have on a farm. But our regular faucet that I use to fill the pond is close to the house, and that freezes up, and so it's not, you know, you can't use it in the winter. So I had to hook up this whole thing, and it was, you know, they have to drain the hose of all the water so it doesn't freeze in the hose, so I can use it again. I mean, it's going to be so cold, it's going to be, we're going to have a couple of days where it's going to be in the single digits as a high coming up, and we're going to get a big blizzard or whatever. So I was dealing with that this morning. The issue that I talked about, it was kind of a, you know, seemed like sort of a crisis 2 days ago. It's resolved itself this morning. And I had these wonderful meditations and sittings, which, you know, I'll talk about on my journey series. Like, my meditations were incredible. I give my wife some sittings, you know, what we do with a meditation. And it was just a really powerful, spiritual, beneficial thing, which I've experienced now time and time again when something bad happens, or even when I get sick, or some, you know, my wife gets, the things are, you know, there's some issues. The spiritual benefit is just off the charts. It's it's astounding. So I definitely don't need prayers because the thing's done with and whatever. I mean, at least, you know, prayers are always good, but the thing resolved itself and there was spiritual benefit, and, you know, it was just, like, I felt like it was just one of these things that happened that's part of a plan. It's just like, it's obviously part of a plan, and it's just, you know, which makes it easier to accept. And then once I accept it and work towards being grateful for it, it resolves itself. And then there's spiritual benefit. But I had this, you know, just a wonderful meditations yesterday. And, you know, it was just, like, I haven't had those kind of experiences in years. So it was, like, really beneficial. I mean, it wasn't something I would want to go through, but, you know, like I said, it was over in a couple of days, and then it was one bad day, and then just the spiritual benefit was there, and then, you know, the material confirmation that the thing had been basically resolved was there. It was an extended family thing, you know, and I've had to deal with great disappointment in my extended family, you know, especially to do with my kids and things. And, you know, it's just, I was hoping for and was believing in, like, so much better a family. And of course, with my ex, if you've heard my stories about her, you know, mental illness stuff and her victim consciousness stuff, and then all that I went through with that. And then just, you know, this idea of an intergenerational family farm, and, you know, all the stuff, the collapse of the family, all the issues that were there, health-related issues, mental health stuff. My ex's extended family have a history of mental health, and, you know, my family has, you know, there's depression and panic attacks, and there's things in my, you know, like, it's just, there's things in both families, genetically and socially, and the kids are growing up in so fucked up times with the addiction to the internet. It's just, the whole thing is a fucking nightmare. You know, I think so many people are suffering with this. Their kids are so much different than they are. It's hard to relate to them because they have a completely different experience on top of everything else. And then all this agenda that's being pushed on these kids, and then the physical issues they have, and the mental issues they have, and just all of it. You know, I was saying this to my wife, I endured a lot, and like I am not this guy. I'm not this kind of person that would be suited for this role. The person that's just got to be the strength of the family, right? Like has to be, stable and has to be. And it was good for me to be in this role, but I'm not really suited for it. Like the person that just holds everything together and just, absorbs a lot and does all the grunt work and, not the, I mean, if there's no, just this work behind the scenes and the things that nobody appreciates, right? Luckily I don't have to do as much of that work now with my, my second marriage with my wife doing a lot of those things. But things I'm not good at, detailed things I struggle with because I'm dyslexic and I'm, just the kind of person I am and just all the things that you do to maintain the family unit, right? There are things like this that are just, like you do, like just cooking meals. I mean, I changed diapers for like fucking 10 years, right? Like all these things that you do to keep the family going, things you have to do with your kids. How many times I have to pick up toys, like we had these like bins of toys for my kids when they were little. And, we had 4 kids in 5 years, my ex and my, and she had 2 kids before that. And so, like having a lot of young kids at one time, toddlers, and just constantly having to pick up, and then you'd pick something up and then they dump it, like they were young, 1, 2, 3 years old before you train them to pick up after themselves and then getting them to pick up and just all the things, like just things you deal with. I mean, how many meals I made, how many things I did, ranging for birthdays that kids would have happy birthdays and outings. Like we did things, we walked, we went hiking, we, brought them to parks and, all the things that go in, like just getting your freaking kids in the car, right? And, just getting all the kids in their car seats and like all these things that you do, all the life's energy you put into that, right? And dealing with that with my ex who was, who claimed to be a severe abuse survivor and had, been locked up in an institution when she was 19. That, these are her stories, was stalked by some guy with inappropriate relationship with him, mental patient that she was doing an internship with and stalked her. I mean, just all these stories she had. Hysterical blindness. She went blind. She cut herself. She was suicidal. And these things all came out in the marriage where we'd have arguments and I'd have to hide the knives. And, anybody who's been through this will understand this. And so many kids cut. And then my daughter started to copy these behaviors. My daughter, Anna, who eventually committed suicide. She got on drugs. And later I found out she was on LSD. One of her friends had given her a gun, which, like, she was just not a person that should have a gun. Like, if anybody should not have a gun, it was her. She was one of the most impulsive people ever. And so, like that all stuff that I dealt with. And, when I was in this, like, horrible marriage and, I was thinking about it and I couldn't escape. I couldn't leave. I couldn't leave the kids alone with my ex. I couldn't, there was no option to get out. I mean, selfishly, I would want to, but I couldn't. And I endured so much. This isn't like who I am as a person. Like, I'm just not that guy, but I had to do it because there's no choice. And, I always thought there'd be some credit. Of course, I got credit on a spiritual level, but like just some credit. Like, people would be like, oh my God, you endured all that, this kind of thing. People who would be familiar with the situation, the master of the system. But when we split up, my ex did a great job of demonizing me and creating these narratives. And I am just not somebody that people look at and would have sympathy for. Like my friends used to talk about how intimidating I was, like when I played basketball and just, like there's this, and I mean, I recognize it because I see it in my brother, but like people just, don't like to approach me. There was a time where I had a counseling business and I had a booth. And when I was in the booth, people would walk to the booth next to me, then purposely walk around me and not talk to me and then go to the next booth. And I saw, like, when my ex was in the booth, everyone talked to her. She was more social. She was more approachable. And so I knew that I had no chance of, like, I mean, I'm not social. I don't win people over. I'm not a networker. And just the way that people perceive me, like, it was like, all right, there's no chance of me convincing people of my side of the story. And just, I didn't even try. Like, it was just, I was like, I don't give a shit. Like, there were so many difficult things that were going on. And, we were basically in India in complete crisis and having to return to America with, my ex completely failing on the homeschooling. 2 of the kids were really far behind. The other 2 kids need to graduate. And I had to figure all that shit out. And I'm not a homeschooling person. I had to, like, navigate this, pick up all the pieces. And nobody appreciates it. My kids don't see it. They don't appreciate it. Even if I told them, they wouldn't appreciate it. They wouldn't, though that's what you're supposed to do or whatever. It's like they would rationalize it. And so, I invested a good portion of my life and energy into this family, and I'm going to get nothing out of it. There's going to be no return in my investment. Like as far as I can tell, there's going to be zero, and I mean, it's just going to be like, all right, of course, on a spiritual level, I know I've benefited so much. So that's not, from the marriage itself and all these things. I mean, so much cleaning happened. I mean, it's not even I'm grateful for all of it in that sense. But, it's just like on a material level, on an egotistical level, like nobody appreciates what I did. And, and it was hard for me to do because I'm not, like I've said, built for it. I'm not a person that would, be in that situation out of my own choice, right? I just was trapped in a situation. I made the best of it. So, I guess that's part of it as well. But so many people now are fighting this with their kids. They're just different. Like these kids are just different than we were. And it doesn't seem to be better. Like they're not, it'd be great if they were indigo kids and they were, this indigo or crystal children, these spiritual developed kids. And maybe there is some of that. It just hasn't come out yet. But right now it doesn't look like it's there. It looks like they're just regressing. Our civilization's regressing. But, through these different crises and really difficult days and really difficult weeks and months and years, I've experienced the benefit by doing the Sajmarg meditation and looking at it as a spiritual cleaning, that when it was over, there would be spiritual benefit and I would be a better person. And that's held up time and time again. It has happened over and over again, and that's why I really, I have faith in the system, because it's worked for me the way it says it works. It's not a desirable thing. Nobody wants to hear miseries as divine blessings. They want to be promised no miseries, and that's what religions do. Religions say, no, you can live a happy life, you whatever, you can just do what you do, and we'll take care of you. You'll live a blessed life. But a blessed life is one that gets you closer to God. And unfortunately, happiness and, being free from problems and stress and issues isn't that. And, inevitable death that's there and all the pain and suffering you go through physically. But those difficulties are the things that make you advance the most, make you, pull out the inner strength, inner resources, inner abilities that are, beneficial. And they provide contrast for you in terms of enjoyment, in terms of the good days. Like, it's like, oh my God, you really enjoy the good days more when you have something to contrast it to, right? I've ever had those experiences where you almost get into an accident and you're like, oh my God, you just appreciate life. You're taking life for granted. And anytime you could be, my wife and I were driving to this park very close to our house. And it's a very safe road, and it's about 15 minutes away. It's like a hiking park with a big river and, lots of acreage and lots of trails. And there's these country farm roads. And there was a street that was on the right side, on the passenger side my wife was driving. And I see this car, I look over, and this car is coming down a hill. Like I know the street, and it has sort of a turn, and then you're coming down a hill going relatively fast, and then there's a stop sign at the bottom of the hill, and it's not a four-way stop. The road we were on is the main road, and we didn't have to stop. And some kids, it looked like some kids, because it's some ratty old, kids car, like high school kids, who looked like maybe I didn't see who the passengers, but whoever it was bombing down this hill, didn't know there was a stop sign, and their road ends. And they were flying, and I looked over, and they were coming straight for us, and we just got out of the way. And I turned around to look at them, and they had to make a 90-degree turn, probably going 30, 40 miles an hour, and I was surprised they didn't flip their car. And on the other side is a hill with a river. And they missed us, and there was a car coming behind us, and they just happened to miss, like by luck of the draw. 1 second different, I would have been dead. Like, there's no question, if they had hit me, I was dead. And probably my wife as well, our 2 dogs. And that would have been, that's how close we were to death, right? And I was like, man, like, it was like, just the shock of it. And it makes you appreciate, like, that's, I mean, these things are just there, right? Like anytime you get into the car, any day you can get like something that bothers you when you go to the doctor and they're like, oh, you got 6 months to live or whatever. These things that happen. And, we don't appreciate the days that aren't that day, right? Because that day's coming, your death day, right? And things leading up to it. But, you don't appreciate those good days and all the healthy days you have because you take them for granted until you don't, right? Until there's some tragedy, some negative thing, and then you realize, oh, man, I'm lucky to have those days. So, these are the things that the Sajmarg doesn't try to sell you a blissful life and a happy life and a life without strife and pain and difficulties. It says use those miseries as a way to benefit yourself spiritually and also help your material life and your attitude. And you're creating this ability to feel gratitude even when, everything's coming from God and being grateful for God and to God for everything that happens, even the bad things. And when you do that, it changes everything. It just makes your life that much easier to go through and just, you're just flowing through life and you can navigate these obstacles and things in a much better fashion. Anyway, my voice is going here a little bit, so I'm going to wrap this up. Only spirituality will save this world. It's paramount, definitely important for the apocalypse. And the ascension, everyone have a blessed day and be grateful.